This is an update on your support tier list. Let's go over the criteria one more time. Important to note that this is only taking into account games through week 7, not any games from this current week of week 8.
Absolutely correct. So this list, stats for supports are kind of very hard to look at. You say, oh, look, they ward a lot, but actually they have very long games. But wait, the top supports don't ward that much because they have short games. So you really can't do too much in the way of stats. Maybe look at a little proximity, but how much do they affect the team out of lane, in the lane, and then in champion picks and bans? What can they provide for the team? Are you a facilitator? Are you a game changer? Where do you fall?
All right, with that out of the way, let's take a look at some of the names on this list. I'm going to shoot right to the top. Ole and Aframu. These are the two guys in the S tier, but Ole just a smidge ahead of Aframu. What separates him from that CLG player?
These guys share a lot of the same attributes, a lot of the same characteristics. And you look at the top and I say, Ole, game changer, Aframu, facilitator, playmaker. Okay. Why is Ole that game changer for me? I mean, you just look at the previous game. He drew 3 bans as support. You don't see many supports even having a few bans thrown at them other than the Thresh, which is at the top. These guys also have 10 unique picks, 11 for Aframu. But for Ole, I believe he has some of the most top decision making in the game. He can affect the game outside of the lane so much that you even hear the LCS players say, this guy is one of the most annoying players on the Rift when he's out of lane.
Hard to argue with the other NALCS pros who are pointing at him as one of the major playmakers for Immortals and one of the linchpins to their success. Moving down the list, we've got Smoothie, Baofrost, and Hakuo in that A tier. Now, Smoothie is on a struggling C9, I'll call it, at least in terms of being behind TSM in the standings, and yet Baofrost is below him. What's the thought there?
So looking at the A tier, this is one of the closest tiers I have ever seen that I have created. I guess I've seen because I made it. Yeah. But looking at how close these guys are, your teacher asks you to write single space essays. This is negative space essays. Their names are almost touching. And you just look at Smoothie's confidence, play style. That's why I pick him over Baofrost. Baofrost has actually been having some amazing games coming up, and he is very likely to be shooting up the list if he continues to play like this.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, right? TSM look hot right now. If they continue to succeed, I would expect him to move up. But he's not a B tier support anymore, so he can rejoice in that fact. A tier for Baofrost. Hakuo, though, also sneaking onto that list in the A tier. Talk to me a little bit about him.
Absolutely. Hakuo is a bit of an enigma when you look at this guy. He can have some very big ups. Kind of mediocre downs is where it really comes into play, is the Envy is having a tough week 7 as we saw coming in, but he still shows very strong gameplay from that bottom lane. Kind of able to circumvent those problems and keep the team in the game.
His highest level of play is S tier play. Now it's about finding the consistency. Exactly. So we got to find consistency for Hakuo. Finally, I want to talk about Adrian on Dignitas. Since he's joined the team, they've been on quite a run, but you have him in the B tier. Why the reservation around him right now?
So he's coming in very strong. We've seen him before. Is he having the Mike Young effect? We don't know. He is a veteran with a bit of experience coming back there, so maybe tempering a little bit of those things that may hurt him in the long run. But there was an absolute change. Dignitas said, we've locked in a roster. Then when they had Altec, they locked in another one with Adrian, and the wins started to come. There's no doubt about it.
Well, what speaks to me there is those stats that were pulled up on the left side of your screen. Similar KDA to both Aframu and Ole, but around 10% higher kill participation. So things don't happen for Dignitas unless Adrian is involved. But I agree with you. We haven't seen enough games simply to say, boom, he deserves to be at the top of the list. Well, thank you very much, Riv. We've broken down the top tier supports here in the North American LCS, but we want to hear from you at home as well.
I want to take a moment here, really quick. I want to take a moment as an opportunist to plug my new store, Riv's Pitchfork Emporium. We are releasing a new digital line, a huge variety of pitchforks for you to choose, download, readily available for you to use, poke it, whatever, and use it will.
I love it. I'm going to get one for myself. You've heard what Riv has to say. We want to hear from you, pitchforks and all, on what you think the best supports are in the North American LCS. Tweet to us using the hashtag NALCS to join the conversation. Time now, then, rather, to throw it back to the casters to get us into game.